Watch some offense.
I mean, is Cooper Rush worth 2.5 points? I would hope Quinn Ewers put up a decent stat line against Arizona State. If he didn't, we have a real problem.
You can say the same thing about Creighton. Okay, they had the one good game against Kansas at home.
When Toast talks about the kicking market, it's like some earth is flat shit. Andy, true or false, this is going to be a dog walking.
Dog walking. This is my dog walking of the day. I think it's going to be very ugly. Dog walking. I think this is going to be ugly.
Hey, get the sauce.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Hope you're all having a nice Sunday. I went 0-2 on my bets. I had the under in the Bulls Pistons, which did not work out. And then I took the Clippers, too, who decided not to show up. So I personally went 1-2 with my stuff. Hope you had a better day than that. Man, Oregon sucks, by the way. I also live bet Oregon -3.5. They are trash.
Yeah, I just needed them to win. I had everything else on my day was all right, but that Oregon, I just needed them on the money line. I paired them in Illinois, and that was quite frustrating. I wouldn't have laid 7 with them. That's crazy, but I did think they were going to win.
Trev, I saw you had a good Saturday.
Yeah, fantastic Saturday.
Got lucky with your Texas over LSU.
Sometimes I was lucky. That was a back and forth game the whole way. I was nervous.
Just zero feistiness from LSU in that one.
The next game is the spot.
Rodney Terry has his boys rolling, baby.
Nah, I'll find a spot to play on LSU. But yeah, we just got 2 games. This will be a quick one. It's not the most loaded slate. Really, the reason we're going live is the second game because that's a fun one. That's an interesting one. But in this first game, Virginia Pittsburgh. I mean, do you guys want to talk about Virginia Pittsburgh?
I mean, I don't. We can talk about it. It's just one of those situations where I would assume that you have a possible get right situation with Pittsburgh here. I mean, off the loss against Wake, I had Wake money line. I watched it here with you, obviously, and there was nothing easy about that game. Obviously, it was a pick 'em. Pittsburgh's laying 12.5, but I would consider Wake a team that's trying to still fight for its NCAA tournament. Obviously, we know that Virginia is absolutely dead. My issue is that Pittsburgh hasn't really been blowing teams out in general. Obviously, they haven't really seen a team as bad as Virginia, but at the same time, I mean, they played Stanford at home. They won that game by like 14 or something like that. That's like the most comparable one. They only won by Cal by 12. So I mean, it would make sense, but with the way that Virginia plays for me, like I don't feel comfortable laying 12.5 with Pittsburgh. I do think that they win the game and they probably win it comfortably, but at the same time, Virginia can be one of those teams that where the offense like Pittsburgh, I can see them slowing down just a little bit against Virginia defense and a Virginia team that plays extremely slow. So I would actually lean for Virginia, as gross as it is. But especially, again, you have a total at 133, but again, I don't know if I would actually play it.
I think I would go ahead and lean towards Pittsburgh. Virginia's bad, man.
Yeah, Pitt for me here. If we look at what Virginia's done on the road, their one win was Miami, so congratulations. But other than that, they've gotten blown out. I mean, 14 to Louisville, 23 to Stanford, 14 to Cal, SMU 12, Florida by 18. I mean, they don't hang in road games. Again, the one was Miami, but I'm going to lay it with Pitt here. Pitt's off a loss. They need to win some games, and Virginia just so I get that they're slow. There's going to be minimal possessions, but they just can't score. This Pitt team will play defense and physical. And last year that this Virginia team lost to Pitt. I believe it was on the road also. Yeah, it was in Virginia. Pittsburgh beat them by 11. No, I'm not saying that, this Pittsburgh team is far better than last year's. I think they're kind of comparable, but the Virginia team is way worse. They're so much worse. So I have no problem laying this 12.5 with Pitt tomorrow. I think they're rolling by 15 plus.
I think I'm actually going to take this with you. I agree. No, there will be no piss in the vinegar of Virginia in this one. But
you don't understand how much fun we had watching your show and doing your show with you guys. That was so much fun.
We were laughing our ass off watching that show. I can't believe there's not more viewers in there. Yo, you know how hard it is to go through 83 games and be prepared to talk about, like, that was impressive, man. That was impressive. I really enjoyed watching.
Appreciate Appreciate it.
The best moment I just have to say is that you got so excited for Army American. You're like, this is a freaking this is a banger.
That game was sick too.
Dude, okay, I know. Dude. But the next game was like NC State and Virginia.
No, it was SMU Stanford.
SMU Stanford, and you're like, do you even have any interest? Did you even look at this game? No.
Bro.
Kyle's like, it's an ACC game.
Exactly.
They're going through the games. He gets to the Norfolk State game, and he's like, this line stinks. We were legitimately laughing our asses off watching that.
That was so fun.
Appreciate it. We love doing those, especially those Friday ones. They get off the rails sometimes.
You do it every Friday night?
Yeah, every Friday we do. We probably go through at least like 70-75% of the board at least.
Yeah, I know, because you were like your co-host Huffer was talking shit, and you were like, "What, dude? I went 51-30 last week."
Last week was pretty phenomenal.
81 picks on this Friday night show. It was awesome. All right, so this is the main event here, and you guys know my original plan. I was going to bet Kansas in this spot, but two aspects of the plan. Aspect number one, well, actually, I guess Baylor did come back and fulfill their end of the deal. I was expecting Iowa State to beat up on Kansas State pretty handedly. I think everyone was. They were like 16-point favorites. The fact that Iowa State gets upset, and not just upset, like they got embarrassed. I think they were down 20 or they might. Yep. I don't know if they had. They lost by 19. Okay, so they got embarrassed by Kansas State. So that kind of changes the dynamic a little bit. I know Trev is on Iowa State, and he said it very confidently in the Discord. It wasn't like, I think I'm going to be on Iowa State. No, he said he's definitely playing Iowa State. I think Toast is on the other side, though.
I'm going to let Trevor talk first because he did call Arkansas a week and a half before Arkansas happened. So he might be the dog caller right now. So I'll let him go. But I do probably have a heavy lean towards Kansas, as gross it is.
Yeah. I mean, Kansas, I get that they're favored. You know, this is like another bounce back spot for Kansas, getting embarrassed and going home. But I think Houston's broke this team, man. Like, they are not good. Kansas did already lose to Iowa State in convincing fashion, but Kansas, man, you barely squeaked by UCF at home. You could argue the refs probably gave you the whistle late for you to get that win. You go to Baylor and you blow a 21-point lead to a team with a 7-man rotation. I mean that, and they lost VJ.
I was gonna say, and Edgecombe lost or went out.
This team is broken. Like they're not going to bounce back from this. Everyone's going to bet them because like they're not going to lose back-to-back games, and they're not going to lose like 2-3 home games in a year. Yeah, they are. They're probably going to lose another one too at some point. They're fucking broken. Dickinson sucks. DeJuan Harris can't hit free throws. They're just broken. Iowa State pissed off.
I like that. I do like that stretch four they have though. He's like an athletic stretch four. He's a good rebounder.
Yeah,
I forget his name.
Badunga.
No, that's not him. If you said his name, I would know it.
Oh, KJ Adams?
KJ Adams. I like him. He's a good player.
He was also out for that Houston game, so cut him a little slack, but still, they blew that game incredibly hard. But, yeah, no, Iowa State, I like them. I think they're going to win on the money line. I grabbed the 3. It's down to 2.5 now. I think this game will probably close, closer to like 1 or pick. I think people are going to buy into Kansas once they get down to 1.5 or so because, they're not going to lose back-to-back home games. Or games at home, and yes, they will. They're not a good team. This is the worst Kansas team Bill Self has ever had. They ain't winning tomorrow.
I gotta say, I've gone back and forth. Originally, I was agreeing with you, but actually, I think I might be slightly agreeing with Toast. But let's let's let him make his case here.
Well, so for me, first of all, I don't want to make a case that Kansas is terrible. But like you just mentioned, in that Houston game, they didn't have KJ Adams. And you could say he's a pretty important piece, being 6'7", a senior that can play defense. He can get clutch buckets. I mean, that's a pretty important piece to have, right? They go out, they blow UCF, and then they obviously piss down their leg in Baylor. But they lose to Baylor. They lose overtime to Houston. They lose to Iowa in Ames. They lose to West Virginia. That's all going back to the first of the year. Like, it's not like this Kansas team is playing absolutely terrible. They're in all these positions to win games. It's just a matter of, do they continue to piss down their pants? Baylor on the road, it is what it is. I'm not betting them because I think that they're not going to lose 2 home games. I just think that these teams are extremely evenly matched. And there's one thing about Iowa, is that their defense on the road hasn't necessarily been the same. I mean, over the last 5 games, I mean, opponents are shooting over 50% from the field from them. They're shooting almost 36% from 3 from them. And that's one thing that I do think that Kansas should be able to do well, because Kansas has actually shot the ball, especially from deep, pretty damn well. They didn't shoot it last game against Baylor very well, only 27%, but 47% against UCF, 36% against Houston, 35% against TCU, 37% against Kansas State. So they've been able to hit shots from behind the arc. And at home, I think that gives them a little bit of advantage here. So Iowa State's very good, but at the same time, they've also lost 3 of their last 5. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I just feel like this number is kind of telling in a way, especially considering the fact that Kansas lost by them by 20 earlier in the year. I don't think Kansas is nearly that bad. I think everybody knows that Iowa State gets a kick up in Ames. I just think that these 2 teams are extremely evenly matched. It's very hard to pick a side, but I will probably be on Kansas. I want them under 2, but it is what it is. We'll see what happens.
I do like how they were beat by 20 earlier in the season. And I will say, and I said this to you in the Discord, Trevor, it seems like your entire reasoning is fading Kansas and not mentioning that Iowa State also doesn't look all that great. I mean,
yeah, fair point. Yeah, the back-to-back losses hurt, but I still have more faith in this Iowa State team and this roster than I do with Kansas. Dickinson's a bum. AJ Storr fucking sucks. Zeke Mayo randomly will show up when he wants. DeJuan Harris, he's been all right this year. He has been incredible. KJ Adams is really good, but I mean, I'm out on this Kansas team, man. Like, they're not going to make the Sweet 16 this year either. They're going to get bounced early. I think they get bounced tomorrow too, and then they're in a real problem. So then after this, they do have the Kansas State game. They'll beat Colorado. I'll give them that. So they'll get a nice big home win against Colorado, but it ain't happening tomorrow.
I guarantee you have an AJ Storr jersey in your closet from last year. Last year.
I debated it, but I never did. I got to get an Arkansas John L. Davis jersey, though.
He said I debated it.
What do you guys think about potentially an under here? I was looking at Kansas game logs, and they had just all slow-paced games except the last 2. One was UCF, who runs 1 billion miles an hour, and then the last one was Baylor, which was kind of just a crazy game. What if maybe we sell high on the Kansas total coming off back-to-back fast-paced games and they get back to slower pace? What about an under?
I would, especially in a game like this on national TV and whatnot, especially at 145. I know that both these teams haven't played at particularly slow paces, and Iowa is definitely playing at a faster pace than they're normally doing. But the first time that these 2 teams played, it had 72 possessions. I would assume that this game is more of a defensive battle. I would say probably under 70 possessions. I think it's more Iowa State Baylor first go around, where we saw about 65 possessions. Yeah,
and in the second half when Baylor came back, I will say it's not that Kansas defense looks absolutely terrible. That freshman just kept hitting circus shots and they kept getting to the foul line. I don't know. I think we could trust Kansas. I might go under here, actually.
If anybody's in the comments that knows what we're talking about, like, I know that Baylor plays a slower pace, but if you look at other past Kansas home games, only 64 possessions in the Kansas State game, 67 possessions in the Arizona State game, 60 possessions in the West Virginia game. At home, they've been tending to play smaller. And to Kyle's point, the last three games for Kansas, 80 possessions, 76 and 76. That's a huge difference as far as how many possessions you're going to get in a basketball game.
Cool. Yeah, and to that point, I believe that one of those was that Houston game where they went to double overtime.
Yeah, that was like the 86 one or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't hate it. I know Kansas unders have been really good this year. I despise betting totals.
Me too.
I did the
Merrimack
game today. Merrimack under 129, fucking 130. So I can't. I hate them. So it would be under or nothing for me, but I will not be betting a total for 2 weeks, and then I'll be doing it again and regretting it.
think I'm going to go under.
I was going to say, Kyle's the type of person, he's going to bet 145, it's going to close 141, and it's going to land 125, and it'll be no sweat. He'll have no worries. He's that type of bettor.
I hope so for you. 72-50, Iowa State.
Ski is in the comments saying Kansas sucks. I do trust both defenses and Kyle's under, but ISU's way better. So it sounds like Ski is taking Iowa State. I don't think I'm going to tail you on Kansas Toast. I think I'm just.
I don't know if I'm
my
actually
under.
going to bet it, but
All right, cool. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Like I said, wasn't a loaded slate. Be back tomorrow. Trev, talk to you. New league starting. Trev, starting tomorrow. So maybe get off on a better foot this time.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Hey, that Arkansas money line that did help my.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You came back and made it interesting. But yeah, that was. I was talking to Toast about that. It wasn't just that you called Arkansas money line at the big plus price, because if you do this enough, you call some underdogs. That happens. Yep. It was you spoke so confidently about it all week. I talked to you like 3 or 4 times throughout the week, and every single time you're like, "Well, Arkansas is going to win Saturday." It wasn't even like I think Arkansas has a chance. It was.
I love that. I love that spot for them. I mean, they had that circled forever. Everyone was hyping up Kentucky, but we know Kentucky's defense isn't that great either. And when they don't play well, they look bad, and they did on Saturday. That's for sure. Once Arkansas took that lead, they just never gave it back. They played awesome. I mean, shout out John L. Davis. That man was playing like FAU John L. again.
Looking good, hitting threes all night. That was awesome too.
Right,
I mean,
when he stepped up for that first one, I was like, this is going to be a good night. This is going to be a good night.
And it's funny how college basketball works, because especially with the committee, it's changed the whole perception on this Arkansas team. Now it's like, oh, they have a good, decent team. Maybe they get a couple wins here. Maybe they can make a run at a tournament.
And now we fade them.
I was going to say,
yeah,
huge fade.
100%.
Because they still suck, guys. I promise you.
Yep.
All right, guys.
They shot like 55% that game. Like, they just shot lights out. Like, it was just one of those nights.
That was a no-doubter. They controlled the game start to finish, for sure.
Yeah, they shot 52% from deep. The chances of that happening multiple times in the rest of the season is slim to none.
No chance.
All right, guys. I got an NBA video to get out.